Welcome to the US-34 North and South Seward Public Information Meeting being hosted by the Nebraska Department of Transportation, also referred to as NDOT. The purpose of this meeting is to share information about the ongoing design and progress made to date on the US-34 North and South Seward project, including proposed roadway and drainage improvements, modifications to parking and traffic patterns, maintaining traffic through construction with proposed detours, and next steps in the design process. We want to hear your comments and input specifically on the proposed improvements, as well as comments related to the historic properties. Besides talking with design team members at today's meeting, there are 3 ways you can provide your comments and input. Number 1, leave your comment sheet with us today before you leave. Number 2, you may comment by email, or number 3, you may comment by US mail. Note that comment sheets have prepaid postage, so you can take them with you. All comments are requested by May 13th, 2022. This presentation will present the planned project timeline, project purpose and need, step through the proposed project improvements showing both typical sections and plan view, and share planned detours and project impacts. We are now in the public engagement process. Early stakeholder meetings were conducted with a focused cross-section of representatives comprised of public sector, civic organizations, businesses, and residents on 6th Street. The comments received are being evaluated as part of the design process. This public information open house is an important part of the project process. NDOT will evaluate and respond to the public comments received, and the project design will be refined as appropriate prior to starting the right-of-way appraisal and acquisition process. The proposed project would require the acquisition of additional property rights, which could include new right-of-way, control of access, permanent easements, and/or temporary easements. The right-of-way appraisal and acquisition process is anticipated for late 2022 to early 2023. If your property is impacted by this project, you will be contacted by an NDOT representative once the design footprint has been established. Final design and construction plans are anticipated to be completed in late 2023. Construction could begin as early as spring of 2024, with completion anticipated by summer of 2025, depending on funding availability. Identified as US-34 North and South Seward, the proposed project would reconstruct approximately 1 mile and resurface 0.4 miles of N15, also known as 6th Street. The reconstruction segment would build a new concrete roadway starting just south of the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad crossing and extend north to just beyond the intersection of N15 and North Avenue. This segment of the project would also include reconstruction of the curb inlets and storm sewer, pedestrian facilities, and updating or replacing roadway lighting and traffic signals. Existing utilities would be reconstructed or relocated as needed. The resurfacing segment would overlay the roadway with asphalt from the reconstruction section to just north of Pinewood Avenue. The planned construction in the resurfacing segment would consist of concrete pavement repairs and resurfacing the roadway and surface shoulders where present. The purpose of the proposed project is to preserve the transportation asset, improve the reliability of the transportation system, and perpetuate the mobility of the traveling public. The need for this project is based on the current condition of the roadway. Now we'll be walking through the proposed improvements on N15. Typical sections are a cross-section or a driver's perspective when looking at the roadway. These sections represent a driver moving through the corridor from south to north. From Ash Street to South Street, N15 would be fully reconstructed as an urban curb and gutter section. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction, as well as new sidewalks on both sides of the street. The existing elevated sidewalk on the east side would remain in place. Traveling lanes are shown here in blue. The gold represents an imprinted concrete with a brick pattern. The proposed roadway would be 32 feet wide from back of curb to back of curb as it is today. From South Street to Jones Bank or City Hall, N15 begins to widen to allow for a turn lane in the following section. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction as shown in blue. Existing sidewalks would be maintained as shown in light gray. The proposed roadway would be 55.5 feet wide from back of curb to back of curb as it is today. Parking would be included as it is today. However, the reconfiguration of parallel parking would eliminate 3 stalls within this section, 1 stall on the west and 2 stalls on the east side of the street. From Jones Bank or City Hall to US-34, a left turn lane would be incorporated. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction as shown in blue. The existing right turn lane would be eliminated and, in general, parallel parking on both sides of the street would be included as it is today. Existing sidewalks would be maintained as shown in light gray. The proposed roadway would be 64 feet wide from back of curb to back of curb as it is today. From US-34 to Seward Street, a left turn lane would be incorporated. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction as shown in blue. On the west, parallel parking would be included as it is today. On the east, parallel parking would be converted to diagonal parking. Existing sidewalks would be maintained as shown in light gray. The proposed roadway would be 60 feet 4 inches wide as it is today. Configuration of parallel parking would eliminate 1 stall on the west side of the street. Diagonal parking would provide the same number of stalls on the east side of the street. From Seward Street to Jackson Avenue, a left turn lane would be incorporated. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction as shown in blue. Existing sidewalks would be maintained as shown in light gray. The proposed roadway would be 54 feet 8 inches wide from back of curb to back of curb as it is today. Parking would be included as it is today. However, reconfiguration of parallel parking would eliminate 3 stalls, 1 stall on the west and 2 stalls on the east side of the street. From Jackson Avenue to Hillcrest Drive, N15 would be fully reconstructed as an urban curb and gutter section. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction with the addition of a common left turn lane. New sidewalks would be constructed on both sides of the street. The proposed roadway would be widened from 32 feet to 42 feet from back of curb to back of curb. This is an increase of 5 feet on each side of the road. This is to accommodate the common left turn lane. Essentially, proposed improvements would be contained within the footprint of the existing sidewalks. From Hillcrest Drive to North Avenue, N15 would be fully reconstructed as an urban curb and gutter section. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction with the addition of a common left turn lane. New sidewalks would be constructed on both sides of the street. The existing parallel parking would be eliminated to accommodate the common left turn lane. The proposed roadway would be reduced from 45 feet to 42 feet from back of curb to back of curb. That is an elimination of 1 1/2 feet on each side of the road. This is to match the adjacent sections. From North Avenue to the end of the project, the roadway would be resurfaced within the existing roadway footprint. Now we will walk through the plan view of the proposed improvements for N15. A plan view is a bird's eye view of the roadway. Note that north is to the right. Again, we'll be moving through the corridor from south to north. The legend is shown in the upper left-hand corner. Proposed reconstruction for pavement and drives are shown in red. Proposed resurfacing for pavement is shown in pink. Proposed sidewalk improvements are shown in yellow. Proposed imprinted concrete with a brick pattern is shown in gold. Proposed green space additions are shown in lime green. Proposed stormwater system improvements are shown in gray, and proposed tree removals are noted along the project. From Ash Street to US-34, N15 would be fully reconstructed as an urban curb and gutter section. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction. A northbound left turn lane would be incorporated at the section with US-34. Parallel parking would be available between South Street and US-34 on both sides of the street, and the stormwater drainage system would be improved. New continuous LED roadway lighting would be installed from Ash Street to South Street, and from South Street to US-34, the existing ornamental lighting would be used in place. The traffic signals at the intersection of N15 and US-34 would be modified. From US-34 to Roberts Street, N15 would be fully reconstructed as an urban curb and gutter section. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction. Northbound left turn lanes would be incorporated at the N15 intersections with Seward Street and Jackson Avenue. Southbound left turn lanes would be incorporated at the intersections of US-34 and Seward Street. A common left turn lane would be incorporated north of Jackson Avenue. On the west side, parallel parking would be available between US-34 and Jackson Avenue. On the east side, diagonal parking would be available along the Courthouse Square. Parallel parking will also be available between Seward Street and Jackson Avenue on the east. The existing driveway access at Fastmart would be reconfigured as shown by the addition of new green space and imprinted concrete. The stormwater drainage system would be improved. However, the existing stormwater system would be used in place between US-34 and Seward Street. The existing ornamental lighting would be used in place from US-34 to Jackson Avenue, and new continuous LED roadway lighting would be installed north of Jackson Avenue. Traffic signals at the intersection of N15 with Seward Street would be removed and new signals installed. From Roberts Street to Cedar Street, N15 would be fully reconstructed as an urban curb and gutter section. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction. A common left turn lane and new continuous LED roadway lighting would be incorporated through this entire section. The existing driveway access near Subway would be reconfigured as shown by the addition of new green space. The stormwater drainage system would also be improved, including improvements to Cedar Street Detention Pond. From Cedar Street to 6th Avenue, N15 would be fully reconstructed as an urban curb and gutter section. A single lane of traffic would be constructed in each direction. A common left turn lane and new continuous LED roadway lighting would be incorporated throughout this entire section. The existing parallel parking from Hillcrest Drive to North Avenue would be eliminated. Green space would replace existing concrete as needed in areas between the sidewalk and back of curb. This is shown by the addition of new green space on the east side of 6th Street north of Hillcrest Drive. The stormwater drainage system would also be improved. From North Avenue to Northern Heights Drive, the fully reconstructed section continues to North Avenue, including a single lane of traffic in each direction and a common left turn lane, and new continuous LED roadway lighting would be incorporated throughout this entire section. The stormwater drainage system would also be improved south of North Avenue. From North Avenue to the end of the project, the existing roadway would be resurfaced within the existing roadway footprint. Pavement would be restriped to accommodate a southbound left turn lane at North Avenue and Northern Heights Drive, which is the entrance to Seward High School. Pavement would be restriped to accommodate a northbound left turn lane at Circle Drive. ADA curb ramps would be constructed along the resurfacing portion of the project. Pavement would be restriped to accommodate a northbound left turn lane at North 8th Street. A right turn lane onto Pinewood Avenue would be provided for northbound traffic. New continuous LED roadway lighting would be incorporated to Pinewood Avenue. Now we will walk through the proposed detours for the project. Note that on this map, north is up. Construction of the proposed project would be phased with segments closed and traffic detoured. Temporary closures and detour routes would be controlled by appropriate traffic control devices and practices. Access to businesses would not be closed during operational hours. Phase 1 construction from Ash Street to US-34 would be completed first to allow N15 south of US-34 to be reopened to traffic for the remainder of the project construction. A designated detour for highway traffic south of US-34 would be provided utilizing Isaac Walton Road, 294th Road, and US-34. Northbound N15 traffic would be directed to take Isaac Walton Road west to 294th Road, then north to US-34, and then east on US-34 before continuing north on N15. Southbound N15 traffic would be directed to take US-34 west to 294th Road, then south to Isaac Walton Road, then east on Isaac Walton Road before continuing south on N15. Phase 2 construction north of US-34 would be completed next. Phase 2 would begin after Phase 1 is completed and N15 south of US-34 is reopened to traffic. This slide shows the highway detour for traffic north of US-34. Local traffic would be detoured on the local street system and will be discussed on the next slide. The designated detour for highway traffic north of US Highway 34 would be provided using US 34, Nebraska Highway 79, and Nebraska Highway 66. Highway traffic would be detoured by US 34 on the south, N79 on the east, and N66 on the north. During Phase 2 construction, local southbound traffic would be maintained on N15 north of US 34. On this slide, note that north is to the right. A designated detour for local northbound traffic north of US 34 would be provided utilizing 2nd Street between US 34 and Pinewood Avenue. Northbound N15 traffic would be directed to take US 34 east to 2nd Street, then north to Pinewood Avenue, and then west on Pinewood Avenue before continuing north on N15. Now, we will discuss historic properties. Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act requires federal agencies to consider the effects of actions on historic properties. That can include any prehistoric or historic district, site, building, structure, or object eligible for or already listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The 6 properties highlighted in yellow have been identified as historic properties, including the Seward County Courthouse, Seward County Courthouse Square Historic District, Grace Evangelical Lutheran Church, located at 252 North 6th Street, now known as Mighty Fortress Lutheran Church, Zimmer House, located at 316 North 6th Street, the bungalow-styled house located at 651 North 6th Street, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, and the Queen Anne-styled farmhouse located across from the golf course. Other impacts are highlighted in green and light blue. The Seward Community Golf Course is located in the vicinity of the proposed improvements. No impacts are anticipated. Seward High School is located in the vicinity of the proposed improvements. Impacts are anticipated for sidewalk construction. Impacts to wetlands are anticipated at the Cedar Street Detention Pond. No mitigation would be required. Trees would be impacted, and removals would be required. The storm sewer trunk line would run under the street rather than behind the curb to minimize damage to existing tree roots. Following today's meeting, NDOT will review and consider the input received as they proceed with final design, right-of-way appraisals, and acquisitions, depending on construction funding availability. NDOT wants to hear from you. There are 3 ways you can provide your comments and input. Leave your comment sheet with us today before you leave. You can send an email to tony.bui@nebraska.gov or by U.S. mail by sending it to Tony Bui, TONYBUI, NDOT Public Involvement, P.O. Box 94759, Lincoln, Nebraska 68509-4759. Please note, the comment sheets that have been provided are prepaid and you can take them with you. All comments are requested by May 13th, 2022 to be included in the project record. We thank you for your interest in the US-34 North-South project in Seward. Please remember to buckle up, put your phone down, and please drive safely.